Some of the companies would give us like stuff for the open bars because it was that era where every fucking party had an open bar. We loved everything that was before us, but we also loved DJs and producers. They really understood how to play to the crowd and mix like every fucking genre and make it wild. Everybody wanted to dance, everybody wanted to have fun, get fucked up, have sex. I'm sure even prior to this era, like people really needed DJs to tell them what was good.
Hey there, it's me, Roxy Cottontail. You might know me as a DJ, artist, designer, and New York City party promoter, or from my bunny logo. I'm putting all that on the table and writing about the years that transformed music and the New York City scene. I've interviewed 250 friends and colleagues I admire. I ask all and reveal all. Please join me in the tales to rediscover the 90s and the Y2K magical landscape of music, art, technology, and streetwear. This is Roxy's Tales.
First, why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm Michael Cohn, and I went from being a party goer to a party promoter and organizer. My parties were Cut NYC, Dirty Down, Mad Suspect, Masters of the Universe. And I used to go, well, I guess I still go by Shark for some people. And I was part of a duo with my partner, Patrick Rude, and he went by The Captain. And he DJ'd, and I MC'd or hyped. I wasn't a rapper or anything, but I got the crowd going.
My guest this week on Roxy's Tales is a respected leader in many realms, but back in the day, Michael Cohn was curating some of the most unique events New York City had to offer in the Y2K era of nightlife and marketing for Mishka. My respect for his determination, style, and discipline is profound. His contribution to promoting music accelerated the evolution of electronic genres, and before our ears could catch up, he was doing the same in fashion for streetwear brand Mishka. It's an honor to go down memory lane with such a hero. Without further ado, Michael, the Shark Cohn.
Where does the name Shark come from?
It's pretty stupid. There's no real, like, the whole thing was that Patrick was the captain. And when we started, I needed something that was sort of relatable to his name, but also relatable to me. And that just kind of happened. Like I don't even remember I'm sure there were a couple of other names that I had tried. And then I just went with that, and it seemed like it was fine for everybody.
You are from New York, or you're from Italy or something, right?
Yeah, I was born and raised in Italy. And then I came here for college. I went upstate New York to Oneonta for a couple of years. Because originally I wanted to study music industry and be in the music industry a little more on the back end, because I couldn't play anything. And all my friends were musicians, and I love music, and still a huge part of my life. I was like, I'm going to learn the business side or the marketing side or some of the legal side. After a year of kind of fucking around, like I end up at FIT, and that's where I got.
Where was that?
When I got to FIT, it was probably 2003 or something.
And so you started going out around that time?
Yeah, I started going out when I came down from Oneonta. I had a friend, this kid Adam, who was straight edge. He, for some reason, was just like, hey, you should meet my friend Amy Lou, which you also know. And so Amy Lou was one of my first friends in New York, and she took me in like a sister, and we started going to parties. I mean, so that's sort of the beginning of it. So it's thanks to her that I was introduced to like all Justine's parties primarily, and everything that was sort of related, that was like, disco, goth, electro, rock and roll, punk kind of vibe.
Yeah, where were you going?
Definitely lit on a Friday, every fucking Friday. And it was Justine and Carlos from Interpol at that point. Yeah, there was that, and then Justine did Tis Was on a Saturday, and that was religious for me. Yeah, you mentioned Bar 13, Shout, and I know I definitely went there a bunch on Sundays, which was kind of like a continuation of the Saturday crowd.
Yeah, Sundays was Shout.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely went to that, and I feel like there were, I mean, in that era, I think there were maybe some random other small parties like goth related or something like that. I mean, primarily, I think that was like maybe what, like 2003 or two.
Yeah.
And that was like most of what I did stylistically. And then of course, like whenever they threw the motherfucker parties, whenever there was like a holiday or something like that.
Rated X was Michael T's party with Theo from the Lunatics, and Peppermint Gummy Bear was the drag queen host, and they would have the hot body contest where everyone would get like pretty much butt naked.
Was that like in the basement of Webster?
That was trash.
That was trash later when they moved from the other place, which I don't remember.
I think it was Opaline. Trash moved from Opaline to Webster.
Right. I mean, I definitely used to go to Trash,
Yeah.
but I feel like that's like maybe like we could consider that like the next wave, I think.
Yeah.
Because I personally went into like whatever was happening, and then other people started parties that were my age at that time. So I think Trash was one of those, and then the whole happy endings thing was another one. I pulled some flyers out. I'm gonna have to scan these for you, but
Hey,
I have this Trash one.
nice. Oh yeah. Oh, it was Rafifi. Sorry, it was
Rafifi,
first.
yeah.
Yeah.
It says here, and I didn't even remember.
Yeah. Opaline was where Rated X used to happen. Oh, which motherfucker.
Like, Halloween Ball, motherfucker. I have one of Gibby's flyers from Boston.
Wow. Let's see the back.
The back has like the bands, which are actually pretty dope for the time being. There's Black Dice, Shy Child, and Mile Marker.
Wow. That's great.
I have a funny flyer for Interpol show in Osaka.
Why do you have that?
Because I went to it.
No way.
Yeah. I was in Osaka randomly, not knowing that they were playing or anything. And I was in touch with their manager at the time. I forget how I knew him or met him. I think my roommate worked at Matador, so probably how.
Wow.
Anyway, I went to Japan, and it happened that I was there at the same time. And I went to see them at this like little theater in Osaka that was like inside a mall. It was
cool.
It was pretty surreal overall.
Yeah.
I have a bunch of our flyers too. There was like a green velvet one.
Whoa. Where was that at?
Studio B.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, I have a lot of Studio B stuff. This was the infamous Moby party when we got him out of retirement.
Sick.
This was like the Savalas parties that we used to do.
Yeah, love it.
The other Diplo infamous party that we did at Studio B. Yeah, this was our first run of parties. So it was like mostly people from New York.
Was that your first party? Was the Cut at 11?
Yeah, Cut at 11 was my first party with Patrick. Patrick had been doing Dirty Down in another place, but it was like a smaller weekly joint. There used to be a bar called Hangar Bar.
Yeah.
And it was in the like Lower East Side, East Village, like off of Avenue B. So he started that, and then I think it stopped for a bit because I don't know, for whatever reason, but then we decided to do Cut together.
How did you meet him?
So I met Patrick at a party somewhere, possibly one of Justine's parties. I don't remember, but I think the thing was that like he knew one girl that was friends with another girl that I was friends with, and she was like, "Oh, you should meet my friend Patrick. He just moved from Massachusetts, and he's also straight edge." And I was like, "Oh, cool," and we clicked, and it was easy from there. And then yeah, I mean, the girls left and we stayed.
Amazing. So you were printing flyers, and I imagine taking them all around town.
Yeah. So basically, I mean, we were building like email lists as everybody did, and then we worked with like companies, like sponsorship companies that would also send out an emailer for us. So then, you remember how that works. Then you basically get majority of their list anyway, because people are RSVPing and stuff like that. So we did it actually, now that I recall, it was like through RSVP. So at least we could build our email list. And then I think some of the companies would give us like stuff for the open bars, because it was that era where every fucking party had an open bar. We would get whatever publications, like local publications, to post like the listing for us, like Time Out or The Voice and other whatever was around, blogs, music blogs. But yeah, we did it pretty DIY. Like we flyered like hard body. Me and Patrick would go to every fucking party, and we were just like, "Yo, we're starting this party, or we're doing this party, whatever. You know us, whatever. Like, come through. It's free. Just RSVP." And I mean, there was just something about flyering, and I mean, me and him coming from punk and hardcore were like pretty in tune with that DIY vibe anyway. So for us, it was like pretty natural to do that. And plus, I think it was cool because like you could put a face to the party. It's like if you liked us, then come to our party kind of thing. Or like, I don't know if there are people that actually like really did not like us, so purposely didn't come to our party, but maybe, who knows?
I don't think so. But, if you're, I don't know, supporting great music, that's all that matters, at least to me.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like we started doing these parties. We loved everything that was before us, but we also love DJs and producers, and we wanted to try to sort of bring that like cool, sceney, fashion person vibe to our party, but having like DJs that would mix,
Yeah.
and that would play pretty open format in terms of dance music. I gotta say, like the main reason was the inspiration came from Dave P and JDH, because we loved going to their parties. I personally would stay from the beginning to the end, fucking lights on for an hour, because, and I will go on record and say that they're more than my favorite party DJs, because they really understood how to play to the crowd and mix like every fucking genre and make it wild. I mean, so we were just like, wow, like, they're fucking great. This fucking vibe is fucking great. So why not? Like, let's like do it, but like let's play different genres of music, because ultimately our parties were like electro-y, heavy bass, even into like dubstep-y kind of later. Just a lot of like vibe, like different genres, and some parties like stick to like one kind of genre, but I think at that point, I mean, you obviously know, you already doing the holotronics parties, and the way that like Wes and Mike were mixing like, new wave into trap, or, like shit like that. Like, in a way, we definitely wanted to like sort of be a part of that too, but also not putting aside everything that we also liked, like new wave or punk and industrial kind of stuff. So, we always tried to have different DJs of different formats, different genres, and everybody seemed to kind of like it. So, it was interesting to like look back and see, starting from Bar 11, which was maybe like 200-300 people, to then having like parties with like Wes and Moby, and them being like at least 2,000 people. So, it was pretty satisfying.
Yeah. Studio B was definitely, I mean, even Kurt and he was just like, so many fond memories of that place. And of course, I think we all do, that was where I played for it was like the first big room that I played, and I crushed it. And I just remembered like that, wanting that high again, and just being like, oh, I can do this, and like feeling really confident in myself as a DJ, where like I never had the power to manipulate that many people at once.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. For me, that feeling came much later on in 2009. I was still doing events and parties because at that point I was the marketing director over at Mishka, and I had a large music programming that I had. And so one of the programs was this international network of parties that were basically the same party that I did when I was doing parties, which mixed all the formats and different DJs. And they booked all the DJs that we sort of sponsored, or did like merch or tapes or tours, whatever I did back then. So by doing that, and just by still being part of like nightlife, I ended up going on tour with some Italian DJs and hyping for them. So I did some dates with the Bloody Beetroots. I did some dates with Congo Rock and the Crookers. And so I played here in the East Coast, and then we did some festivals like Lollapalooza and Coachella. And the Coachella one, well, both Coachella and Lollapalooza, I went with Crookers, and this was 2009, and it was the first time that they had the DJ stages, because they kind of finally caught on to dance music. And so now they wanted dance music at these festivals that were predominantly like not that.
Yeah.
And I remember being on stage for Coachella with Crookers, and just doing my thing, being hype, and just the fact that I could move the crowd like that with them was just an insane feeling, and then after the thing, they were like, oh, that there were like 20,000 people there. And I was like, what? Like, because you couldn't really see how far back because of the lighting, and it was dark. And I was like, wow, that was just an insane like thing for me to be a part of. And I'll definitely never forget that. But without everything else that came before, that would have never happened.
Yeah. Any important standout moments of that era that you remember?
Going to WMC at that point was insane.
What year did you go to WMC?
God, Patrick would probably be better at this, but I literally have zero memory for somebody who doesn't drink and do drugs, but I don't know, 2005, something like that. And it was the year that Justice popped. Like, they weren't out, but it was the first year that they came, and Josh and Dave had them at their party at Live, or whatever that place was in Miami, where they did the party. And there was like the DJ booth was in like the front of a semi truck in the middle of the floor. I don't know.
Wow, I don't think it was at that.
Yeah, it was pretty insane. I remember hanging from this fucking truck while Justice was playing. And I was like out of my fucking mind, just hyped, because I just was like super into it. It's just funny, like, a lot of times I get people being like, how did you like do like this, that, the other, and you were fucking sober? And I'm just like, yo, you don't get it. Like when you love music, that's like what gets you high, and that's what keeps you going. Sure, I got to like 4 or 5 in the morning and I was like, all right, I'm done, because I'm like literally tired, so I can't go to an after party, which usually doesn't involve music. So
Yeah.
but yeah, I mean, that was a great time. It was just like being around that kind of environment and just all these artists in one place, and it was very fun to sort of all be together. You know how it is when New York goes somewhere and just shows up,
WMC was crazy.
Yeah, I mean, it was great that we were able to take our party on the road a little bit. We went to Canada a few times.
Where in Canada?
We did Toronto and Montreal and Ottawa because we were friends with like Linus and Chris, who had their disorganized party, and then there was the Montreal one, which was
Peer pressure.
But they had a great scene at that point, and it was really fun for us to go up, and then they would come play our parties. The kids up there at that point were a little bit different. It felt like good, clean fun. I mean, sure, there was everything going on up there, but it was no New York, The one thing that really sort of kept me in the scene, at least initially, and I'll always remember fondly, it wasn't more like a specific party or like something that happened, but it was just the energy. We all were like, coming from something or somewhere else, or even if you were from New York, like you were still trying to escape something. And the parties that I went to allowed me to do that. It's like I was very homesick at the time, and being at these parties just kind of like made me forget everything. And there was just something about, like, I'll still remember going to Tizwa's, and even if I didn't really know too many people, you would just go in on the dance floor, close your eyes, and just like kind of just like go somewhere else. And people were super friendly, even if it seemed like they weren't. Everybody was really friendly. And how it is here, like you have party friends, you might not hang out with them on the regular, like during the daytime, but you can count on them to hang out at night or wherever on the weekend. And it was nice because I was able to have that and feel sort of like I was part of something. And everybody wanted to dance, everybody wanted to have fun, get fucked up, have sex. And it was just like pretty like, open and raw. Like it was just the raw energy of it all, and sort of the carelessness, despite, us all having school, work, whatever, it's like, I remember having to go to class in the morning, going to school, going to work in the afternoon, and then partying at night, and literally doing that all the fucking time. I'm like, I don't know how I graduated, but it was worth it. Like, I look back really fondly on those times. Also, the fact that I was able to provide the environment that was provided for me to let loose and have fun and listen to the songs that you wanted to hear on a loudspeaker was rewarding enough.
Yeah.
Because
I love that you say that, because that's what I feel like Justine and Larry gave to me.
A lot of it for me was always like, making sure that I went to these parties because I knew that the DJs that I went to see would have whatever was fucking hot. And then I would ask them, what the fuck was that? Because it was insane. And then I would be like, oh, okay, like now I know. Cause like, I don't know, I'm sure even prior to this era, like people really needed DJs to tell them what was good, and to like be like really like the first like music influencers, if you want to say that.
Yeah.
Because you had no other way unless you combed like record stores, but a regular person would not really do that. You probably didn't even have a record player, so you
Yeah.
really have to rely on DJs to be the ultimate tastemakers. And once you find the ones, then you just follow them around. It's just like, that's why I always went to Dave and Josh's parties. That's why I always had Mike play at my parties, because I knew that they were always gonna play some shit that I would freak out to.
Mhm.
And that's great. And if you can transition from, Blue Monday to Tear the Club Up, then I love you forever.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, were there specific genres that were getting played at the Cut or Dirty Down?
Yeah, it was like, I mean, whenever Baltimore was popping off, like we always played that, made sure that we invited as many people that we could, that were from there, or Jersey, or wherever, or Philly. I think that, ghetto tech, anything that was like sort of like French touch, like disco-y, electro, and then whatever like genre bending stuff that was happening with like, like disco punk, or like things like
Grime?
that. Well, yeah, I mean later on, sure. But not even too much, to be quite honest. Like cup parties like didn't have a ton of like grime and dubstep, even though, with my work at Mishka, like I was a big like supporter and proponent of those genres of music earlier on. I don't know if people were like ready to like have too much of that, but when we did like our smaller parties, definitely we played grime and dubstep a lot. And then when like they started doing the separately, like the trouble and bass parties, those were more focused on
Yeah.
grime, dubstep, and wobbly stuff like that.
What were some of your favorite artists or DJs? I mean, you mentioned Mike, JDH, and Dave P.
I mean, besides him being like a brother to me, like I always loved Alexander Technique, because he was great at mashups, and he was a great DJ too and producer. So he would always be able to like I would get the fill of all the little genres that I wanted. And he would just like do it really well. I think it was always, of course, like Vivian Star Eyes, she's like one of the best, and she would play every genre like, very well, whether separately or together. It was always great to have her. Sometimes it was just not even about the skill or like whatever was playing, but it was just like the vibe that we had, or the crowd had personally, with the DJ, and how they responded to whatever they were playing. I mean, I made a folder for you. So
Oh,
this was the party with Diplo.
oh my gosh, look. This was at Studio B?
Yeah,
Amazing. Wow. I love it.
this was oh yeah, Black Star was on this. So it was weird. It was a weird lineup, right? Man Parrish, Larry T, and Black Star. It was kind of like, what? And this was the first time I think that Rai Rai played in New York, and she was still underage, and there was a whole thing like with the club. We were like, no, she's not gonna like drink or anything. Like she's just performing, like,
Gosh. You have quite a portfolio.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's really impressive. I think I was so busy, I never got to go to anything.
I think that was like for most people where it's just like, the weekend's the weekend. So even though we didn't do it every weekend, like a lot of people were just like, oh shit, we have our parties. Or, I mean, we knew, and, we would always try to be like as non-competitive as possible because that wasn't why we did parties.
Anything that changed your trajectory, like how you came about getting involved and succeeding at nightlife?
Yeah, I mean, I think like from, what we spoke about, just being introduced in nightlife really sort of, put me in touch with like the cool kids, I guess, or the in crowd or like creatives. And for me, I don't know, it was great because coming from Italy and like me and like my little crew of friends were the only ones that were, sort of alternative, and we were like punk and skaters and whatever. But then I come here and there's like a vast assortment of like everything, and everything's kind of amalgamated and like mixing with each other. And yeah, it just kind of showed me that there is a place for me, and I felt really comfortable sort of navigating, New York at that time and meeting people and just kind of,
Yeah.
being a part of it. Everybody knows each other when they party.
We were out there. We were hitting the streets.
I really appreciate you, involving me and thinking of me as sort of a integral part of that time.
Are.
I appreciate that.
It's just the facts. It's not a compliment.
Thank you.
Just the truth.
Thanks for hopping by. That's it for this week. Don't forget to subscribe, like, share, comment, and stalk. Bounce, little kitty.